All new tonight, the New York State Thruway Authority expected to consider hiking up toll costs at its upcoming meeting. That's set to happen on Monday. They've detailed the proposal in their agenda for that December 5th meeting, and they're considering a 5% rate hike for New York Easy Pass customers and more for non-Easy Pass drivers. Right now, those drivers pay 15% more than those with Easy Pass. If this proposal passes, they would pay a whopping 75% more. If the measure is approved, it wouldn't go into effect until January of 2024. That would be after multiple public hearings were held to gather input from the community. The Thruway Authority says it needs the extra money to meet financial needs in the future and keep the roads in the best shape possible. They also say there has not been a system-wide increase since 2010. Of course, that is more than 10 years ago. A brand new update on a You Paid For It report as the New York State Thruway Authority plans to potentially raise the cost of tolls. Its executive director is planning to retire. CBS 6 is learning tonight that Matthew Driscoll is planning to step down as of December 20th. The authority couldn't provide us with a reason why this retirement is coming right now. Driscoll has led the Thruway Authority since 2017, overseeing the transition to cashless tolling back in 2020. And in a couple of years, those toll payments could cost you more. So tonight we're digging deeper into that agenda item, along with how some state lawmakers are already planning to fight against it. CBS 6's Brianna Sapardi is live at the Thruway's Guilderland service stop for us tonight. Now, Bree, tell us more about what you're hearing from those elected officials.
Good evening, JT. A Democratic assemblyman and a Republican senator say they're not happy with this. They say they strongly oppose any toll hike since New Yorkers are already struggling with rising costs due to inflation. But a spokesperson with the Thruway Authority tells me that if this is approved, it won't take effect until 2024. The New York State Thruway is considering toll hikes. The proposal on the agenda for Monday's meeting includes a 5% increase for those with New York Easy Pass tags and a steep 75% increase for those who do not. If the board of directors votes yes, this would start a public process, including meetings to gather community input and a final report. State lawmakers on both sides of the aisle not taking the proposal well, showing bipartisan opposition to increasing tolls. Democratic Assemblyman Angelo Santa Barbara calling the proposal outrageous, prompting him to introduce a bill today to enact a toll hike freeze for at least 2 years.
I was shocked to see that this proposal is even coming out during such difficult times. People are struggling with the effects of inflation, the rising cost of goods and services. People are really struggling to make ends meet. There's tough times out there.
Republican State Senator Jim Tedisco calling the toll hike absurd.
I have a bill in place that simply says we're going to be a check on them. Anytime the Thruway Authority and their leadership wants to increase tolls, it should come before the New York State Legislature, the Senate, the Assembly, and go to the governor after, and we should ratify it.
A spokesperson with the Thruway Authority says the only way this stretch of highway from New York to Lake Erie gets funding is through its tolls. The authority does not receive any local, state, or federal dollars to fund operations or infrastructure updates. In a statement, the spokesperson says in part, quote, "If passed, we will maintain some of the lowest toll rates in the nation. This is a responsible financial plan to ensure the authority will meet its growing capital and infrastructure needs for a system that is approaching 70 years in age," end quote. We asked those on the Thruway tonight what they thought about a possible toll hike.
I think it's crazy. I mean, I take the back roads to avoid the tolls, so I it's cheaper that way, and traveling is a lot easier that way, and I don't have to worry about having the bill at the end of the month.
The Thruway Authority spokesperson tells me that a final decision on this proposal is expected towards the end of next year. If approved, it'll be the first toll increase for New York Easy Pass customers since 2010. Reporting live in Guilderland, Brianna Sapardi, CBS 6 News.
Get ready for the very real possibility of a Thruway toll hike. Thruway officials say a proposed 5% hike for New York State Easy Pass users will be introduced at Monday's Thruway Authority Board of Directors meeting. You'll pay for it with your toll dollars, not your tax dollars, because the Thruway gets its operating revenue from those who drive on it. If approved, the toll hike would go into effect on January 1st, 2024. There will be a number of public hearings between now and then. The Thruway Authority also wants another 5% toll hike in 2027. The toll hike for out-of-state drivers and those without Easy Pass would increase a whopping 75%. Assemblyman Angelo Santa Barbara is reacting by introducing a bill that would call for a 2-year freeze on any toll hikes.
I have fought toll hikes from the moment I took office, and I'll continue to do that. I think that this is a time where we need to be coming up with things to save people money. This is inflation is still a very real issue. Prices are for goods and services are on the rise. We need to find ways to save people money.
The Thruway Authority says the toll hikes are necessary to meet its growing capital and infrastructure needs for a system that is approaching 70 years in age. There hasn't been a system-wide toll increase for New York State Easy Pass customers since 2010.
Thank you very much, Greg. And like many other industries, the Thruway Authority was substantially impacted by the pandemic in 2020. But they say there's been a steady recovery since, even outperforming some of their expectations, some of their budgeted lines for revenue in 2022. So like we were talking about, I was curious, with that said, why now would it raise rates going into the future?
It's been more than a decade since the Thruway Authority has raised tolls for Easy Pass users, and now the organization has proposed 5% hikes in 2024 and 2027, saying it needs to address growing capital and infrastructure needs. I asked, what's changed in the last decade where more funds are suddenly needed to fix the road you're driving on? The Thruway Authority says more than 85 bridges will need to be replaced within the next decade. Quote, the projected replacement cost for the most immediate 85 bridges needing replacement is roughly $800 million in today's dollars. Factoring the hundreds of bridges that will require replacement not long thereafter, the costs escalate into the $6 to $7 billion range, which the existing toll rate structure will not support. Cashless tolling took effect in late 2020 with more than 1,000 layoffs. The Thruway Authority is also gaining revenue through renting out revamped rest areas. It says those funds are being reinvested into maintenance and operations of the Thruway. Along with the proposed toll hikes, on Monday, the board will present the 2023 budget proposal, which spells out toll revenues over the last few years. 2021 was still coming off the pandemic, but the Thruway Authority actually saw about $5 million more than projected in toll revenue in 2022, but project to make $10 million less than that in 2023. I asked why. Given the uncertainty surrounding the broader national economy, our 2023 forecast includes a $10 million reduction in toll revenues associated with recent indications that e-commerce is declining from its recent highs. The Thruway Authority, supported by analysis from its independent traffic engineer, has determined that there are additional revenues required for the authority to fulfill its system-wide operating, debt service, and capital needs through the upcoming forecast period.
The Thruway Authority considering toll hikes. At the same time, drivers are wondering what's going on with this service area reconstruction project. The authority began phase 1 of modernizing its rest areas in 2021, but several delays have gotten in the way, and right now 3 have been finished. No taxpayer dollars here. A private company is building and operating these rest areas. CBS 6's Tom Eschen worked to get an update from the Thruway today, and he joins us live right now from alongside the Thruway. Hi, Tom.
Hey, Greg, thank you so much. We're live here tonight at the Guilderland service area. This site slated for phase 2 of that Thruway Authority service area reconstruction project. So construction hasn't started yet, but drivers have been asking us when it will begin. So we asked the Thruway Authority when it will begin.
Jim Smith was in the Capital Region today, traveling from Rochester. He knows the Thruway well.
Actually traveling to go see my grandson.
Like many other drivers we talked to today, he's gone by service areas under construction, wondering when they be done.
It's sure taken a long time. They seem to have done it all at once in many stretches of the I-90, and you wonder about that.
There have been delays since the project started in July of 2021. Indian Castle, located in Little Falls, was supposed to open in March of this year. It didn't until the end of August. The Thruway Authority saying Empire State Thruway Partners and AECOM, the construction lead on the project, claim geopolitical issues, COVID-19, and global supply chain shortages are causing delays to the project. So, with phase 1, with 16 service areas included encountering delays, what's that mean for phase 2, with 11? The authority referred us to its service area project webpage. It shows phase 1 projected dates, but the update for phase 2 is full of TBD.
Elsewhere, the website states any time between 2023 and 2025 for Phase 2. Robert Smolin has 3 service areas in his district.
What I'd like to see mostly is good communications, that they would be able to communicate with not only the local citizenry, but all of the local media, so people know when these projects are going to start, when they're going to finish, if there's any delay or anything else that goes along like that.
His region spans stretches of the Thruway from Mohawk Castle to Utica, a key travel space for commuters and truckers.
If there's a toll increase, whether it's taking money out of people's pockets, especially bad in these inflationary times, but whether it's passed along to a business in the form of more fees that they have to pay, those businesses don't absorb that. They pass it along to the consumers.
Those toll dollars are not a part of the funding for the service area reconstruction. It's a private-public partnership. But travelers are still frustrated at the possibility of paying more for tolls in 2024 with service areas still under construction.
It's hard for politicians, I'm sure, to explain it. And in this case, it's politicians plus all the engineers that are trying to keep us all on the highway and safe.
We also asked specifically about some of those TBDs in Phase 2 in the capital region, Guilderland being one of those, Mohawk as well. The Thruway Authority tells us 2023 is still the projection, but that is subject to change. Reporting live here from Guilderland, Tom Eschen, CBS 6 News.
Like all public authorities in New York State, there are more than 500 of them. The Thruway Authority operates with very little outside oversight. By law, it reports to its own board of directors appointed by the governor. We have done a number of You Paid For It stories on what many see as a lack of accountability when it comes to public authorities. The New York State Authority's budget office is charged with overseeing authorities. It's a small agency with a tiny staff. It requires that authorities submit annual reports, but it can't get involved in the day-to-day operations of an entity like the Thruway Authority. The New York State Controller Tom DiNapoli has issued reports on the operations of authorities in New York. He's described them to me as a shadow government.
If we don't know what's going on, if there's not the kind of reporting of this information, then you and the press and the public can't shine a spotlight on the activities.
Is that really a concern? This is a shadow government that really, who knows sometimes what's happening?
You know, we live in a time where we need to require more accountability.
In 2016, the Comptroller's Office did an audit of Thruway cost containment initiatives and recommended that the Thruway Authority develop and implement a long-term, comprehensive strategic plan to address funding needs to pay for repairs to and/or replacement of components of the authority's aging infrastructure.
Pushback against the Thruway Authority's plans to move forward with a toll increase is growing today. State Senator Jim Tedisco now calling on the Senate Transportation Committee to hold a public hearing on the issue.
The Thruway Authority voted yesterday to go ahead with a plan to raise toll rates. Tedisco has been vocal in his opposition to the hike for weeks now. CBS 6's Jackie Slater spoke with the senator today. She joins us live from the state capitol in Albany with what he has to say. Good evening, Jackie.
Good evening, Greg, and fired up, perhaps the best way to describe Tedisco today. Now, you might remember that back in '92, Tedisco voted in favor of the Thruway Authority maintaining control over those tolls. Well, today he said that when the legislature did that, they were under the impression that the Thruway Authority was going to do away with tolls completely by the end of the decade. Now, today he says his biggest concern about this hike is what it means for the drivers out there who are already paying a lot more for pretty much everything right now. Senator Jim Tedisco doubling down in his opposition of the New York State Thruway Authority's plans to raise toll rates.
Well, clearly what we need to do is take the power away from that Thruway Authority because they can't be trusted.
Just one day after the Thruway voted to move forward with the toll hike process, Tedisco sending this letter to the chair of the New York Senate Transportation Committee calling for a public hearing, demanding answers from the authority as to why an increase is needed and why it failed to follow through on a decades-old promise to do away with tolls back in the 90s.
You remember what they did, right? They combined the Thruway with the canal system. And what was the promise there? It's going to reduce the cost of the Thruway. It didn't reduce the cost of the Thruway. It didn't reduce the cost of the canal. And now they want a 75% increase from the people who can least afford it.
Tedisco calling the Thruway's plan to raise rates for non-Easy Pass holders at 75%, quote, unconscionable, as many of those drivers are lower income without credit cards and bank accounts to support Easy Pass accounts. CBS 6 reaching out to the Thruway today, asking for its response to Tedisco's latest efforts to challenge the hike. The Thruway deferring to a statement released Monday after the vote, reading in part, "As a tolling authority, we receive no state, federal, or local tax dollars to support our operations. And when effective, we will not have had a system-wide toll increase for New York Easy Pass customers in 14 years. This is a responsible financial plan to ensure the authority will meet its growing capital and infrastructure needs for a system that is approaching 70 years in age." CBS 6 asking Tedisco if the tolls were gone, how would maintenance and future Thruway projects be funded?
Yeah, the answer to that is $22 billion in the next 4 years is coming from the federal government. It's promised already.
Tedisco saying if the Thruway Authority needed help, they should have first gone to lawmakers.
We should be paying as we go. They shouldn't have to wait 5, 10, 15 years to come to the legislature and say, hey, we have a problem here.
And when I spoke with the Thruway Authority this morning, they doubled down on their stance that the Thruway has always been a road that is paid for by the people that use it, and they strongly feel that that's the way that it should stay. Reporting live at the Capitol tonight, Jackie Slater, CBS 6 News.
CBS 6 investigates, digging deeper into some of the numbers related to a proposed Thruway toll hike. It's a story we have been following all week. The New York State Thruway Authority voting on Monday to move forward and start the toll hike process. CBS 6's Jackie Slater has been combing over the Thruway's report, outlining the reasons why they say a hike is needed.
The authority says if they don't increase rates, they will be coming up millions of dollars short starting in 2024. Now, that's when drivers will see toll rates go up if this proposal is given final approval sometime in the next year. We told you earlier this week that the Thruway says they've been fortunate to operate with pretty much even operating expenses versus revenues. But according to the report outlined by the Thruway's chief financial officer, Matthew Howard, at the Thruway's board meeting on Monday, without a hike, they will come up $2.8 million short in 2024. Now, given changes in traffic patterns and inflation, that jumps to $85.6 million in 2025, $117.7 million in 2026, and by 2031, the Thruway projects a $246.1 million shortfall. These numbers are based on planned capital expenditures totaling more than $3.6 billion. This includes costs to maintain and restore highways, bridges, and equipment. Now, in justifying the hike, Thruway executives keep stressing that this will be the first rate hike in 14 years. And they say even with the increase, the rates are lower than most other states here in the East. CBS 6 looking at some of those comparisons. According to the report, drivers in Virginia's Pocahontas Parkway pay about 60 cents a mile. The Northern New Jersey Turnpike is 30 cents. The Mass Pike in Boston is around 13 cents, and in Western Mass, it's under 5 cents per mile. Now, these are easy pass rates. With the proposed hike, New Yorkers will jump from just over 5.8 cents a mile right now to 8.6 cents by 2027. And we've also reported that some lawmakers are challenging the hike and calling for an audit of the Thruway and a public hearing to question the authority on its accounting, plans, and budget. Next steps here for the Thruway include public comments and public hearings before a final decision is made in the coming months.
Right now, one of New York's biggest trucking organizations is deciding what position to take on the Thruway Authority's proposed 2024 toll hike. As this happens, construction continues on service areas from Buffalo to Yonkers. The authority is working with a group named Empire State Thruway Partners to redesign all 27 rest stops through a public-private investment, so no toll dollars are at stake, no tax dollars either. The reconstruction started in July of 2021 and has been plagued by delays along with frustration in the final product. CBS 6's Tom Eschen has been on this story and today spoke with some of the people these changes impact the most.
For commuters, the Thruway is mainly about convenience. They tell us the new service centers they've seen are smaller, frustrated at the time it's taking for them to open. Meanwhile, commercial truck drivers are waiting to see what the rest of the stops will look like, hoping the promises for more parking and amenities are kept.
They make more, because you don't have anywhere to stop to eat, to rest, restroom facilities and stuff like that. Yeah. So, as long as they keep building those, we'll be great.
The 3 finished Thruway service areas, Indian Castle, Chittenango, and Junius Ponds, are all categorized as Level 2. Level 2 is the second smallest when it comes to square feet. 17 of the 27 are at levels 2A and beyond, 10,000 square feet or more. They just haven't opened yet. Pattersonville construction will start soon at the 2B property, one of 5 service areas scheduled to feature enhanced commercial truck driver amenities.
Anything that's healthy, you know, that's what we want to see. We don't want to see anything like too fatty.
Ensure that our drivers have safe, secure areas to park, that they have the necessary amenities available to them, whether it's, food or showers, restrooms.
Now, Kendra Hems and the Trucking Association of New York have another key conversation with the Thruway Authority on tap for next week. This regarding the toll hikes in 2024.
We could see things where it helps improve efficiencies. They're investing back in the road network. They can maybe address some key congestion points. Those are all things that can be helpful to the industry. But we really need to get a better understanding of how they're planning on spending those funds.
Questions remain for truckers and commuters alike, both about the tolls and the experience they have while traveling the Thruway. Reporting from Indian Castle in Little Falls, Tom Eschen, CBS 6 News.
Assemblymember Angelo Santa Barbara moving full steam ahead now in his opposition of a proposed toll hike on the New York State Thruway, announcing today he's starting an online petition to get as many people involved as possible.
Yeah, it's been exactly 1 week since the Thruway Authority voted to move forward with their proposal to raise toll rates. CBS 6's Jackie Slater has been following the story closely and joins us right now from the Guilderland rest area with the details of Santa Barbara's latest move. Jackie.
And Greg, Santa Barbara trying to rally the drivers out here to speak up and speak out against these hikes. Now, the Thruway has promised to hold public hearings on the increases, and Santa Barbara says that this is his way of making sure that all drivers can be heard. Now, the petition live on Santa Barbara's website right now. It asks people to sign, share their comments, and tell the Thruway Board of Directors, quote, no to toll increases. If the hike is approved, drivers will see their per mile rates go up anywhere from 10% if you have an easy pass to 75% if you don't. But that means some drivers currently paying a little more than 5 cents a mile will pay slightly more than 8. But the Thruway has been very passionate in their stance that non-easy pass drivers account for only 26% of drivers on the roads right now. Easy pass drivers will hover around the 5 cent mark per mile after 2 5% increases between 2024 and 2027. Now, the Thruway says New Yorkers will still be paying far less than most other toll roads in the country. Santa Barbara, though, equally as passionate in his stance that any increase here is too much, given the struggles people are facing financially with rising prices on pretty much everything right now.
This is coming at the worst time possible, at a time when inflation is still hitting families hard. People are paying more for the cost of goods and services across the board. And the only thing this is going to do is make commuting and traveling in New York State more expensive. The Thruway should work with what they have. Everybody's cutting costs right now. Everybody's doing more with less. Levels of government across the board are working to find ways to save people money. The Thruway Authority should be doing the same.
And I did speak with the Thruway Authority today, asking them if those public hearings have been scheduled. I was told, no, we probably will not hear any firm dates on those until at least the end of February, perhaps the beginning of March. They did, however, say that these meetings, these hearings will be, quote, regionally diverse to make sure that as many people as possible have the opportunity to attend. Live along the freeway tonight, Jackie Slater, CBS 6 News.